because she'll do that.
We all remember recess growing up in school. Recess was a time of day where you could have all the conversations that you could not have while in class. Recess is where you had the real conversations. And real conversations we're going to have. In each episode of the Recess Podcast, I'm going to have real conversations explaining students and school. I'm David McGuire, and I'll be your host. It's recess time, y'all. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Recess Podcast. This is episode 34. It's going to be a safe space tonight. We're creating a safe space because we're going to talk about teacher burnout. It's getting to that time. Spring break is right around the corner. It's in one day if you're me and the folks at Tinley. But some folks have got another week, but we're around that corner. And this is that time of the year where folks start to get burnt out. And so we're going to create a safe space tonight for all of us to have a conversation about teacher burnout. And it's real. And I promise this evening that I'm going to be on my best behavior. Ashley knows me. I get a little reckless, but tonight is not about being reckless. Praise the Lord. Yes, I'm going to be on my best behavior. I promise everybody. But this is a safe space. And so I hope you will join us, share this video. But before you do that, hop in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. Scale of 1 to 10, how you feeling today. Want to create that. And then I have some amazing guests with me. And we're going to, like I said, have a dialogue about teacher burnout. And I'm going to hear from them about their thoughts and things like that. So if you're rocking with us, do the same thing. Hop in the comments. We'll get it up there. Auntie Toya, appreciate you for jumping on with us. We're going to do something special here soon. So appreciate that. So before we get going, let's introduce the guest. Ashley, since I know you, I'm going to make you go first. And you've been on the show before, but reintroduce the folks and tell them who you are.
All right. Well, good evening. Thank you, Mr. McGuire, for having me back. I'm Ashley Ford. I am a special education teacher in Pike Township at Lincoln Middle School with grade 8. I am a longtime West Side resident, and I'm just excited to be back. Thank you.
Good to have you back. Shout out to Pike. That's my alma mater. Love it. And Miss Shauna, introduce yourself. We had a nice little dialogue in the pre-show, so I'm looking forward to your energy tonight. But let the folks know who you are.
Good afternoon, beautiful world. My name is LaShauna Trammell. I am a teacher in the inner city. I teach high school English, grade 10. I am not from Indianapolis. I am from Tennessee. I have been a resident of Indy for 10 years, but I have been teaching in the Indianapolis Public Schools for 7.5 years. Let's get to the afternoon started.
That's right. Well, welcome to the show, all the way from Tennessee. And last but not least, we got my brother Steven with us. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, brother. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steven Shepard. I'm from Indianapolis. I am a product of Arlington High School. However, I did grow up on the West Side. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk about teacher burnout.
Absolutely. We got some West Side love up in this mug, man. Shout out to the West Side, man. Listen, born and raised on the West Side, but I tell folks, man, East Side adopted. Always, they took your boy in, so I love it. But all right, before we jump in, I want to just hear from you all. It's been a crazy year, and it's been a year and a couple of days since school was shut down last year, and it looks like that we're getting closer to that other side. But I want to hear from each of you. Just share briefly, and we'll go in the same order we introduce ourselves. So I'll start with you, Ashley. Share what the past year has been like teaching during the pandemic. What's it been like for you, for colleagues of yours, for your students? Just share with us a story or two about how it's been teaching.
All right. Well, let me just put a disclaimer. These opinions are my own. So my experiences, I can't speak for everyone, but as a special education teacher, it has been interesting to say the least. Teaching that population has been hard because I don't feel like in the beginning I was giving them the supports they needed because they were at home, and then going to use all these different virtual platforms to, and for instruction. So I had to humble myself. I wrote that down. And there were days where I was frustrated because I'm like, okay, how do I work this how do I work Zoom? How do I work, Google Meet? Because that's what we started at. So March of last year, we had to like kind of just get through March through, the end of May. And so we used like MobiMax, and that was a okay way to continue to give instruction. But it has been like chaos some days. Technology doesn't want to work. And that was the frustrating part for me. But it also gave me the ability to kind of level up and be a little bit more innovative in my teaching, especially to the exceptional learner population. So I have learned a lot. I think I've become an expert, so to speak, with virtual instruction and, still giving the students those services that they need as written in their IEP. So shout out to all the teachers who are doing it, because God bless you.
Man, listen, God bless you for real. It's been wild, right? Just this entire experience and, everything. And so shout out to you and shout out to the folks in Pike where you're at and the work that you guys are doing. So, Ms. Shauna, what about you? Teaching high school, right? What's it been like this past year for you?
Difficult to say the least. I teach with a vulnerable population. I teach with a population that has high trauma. I teach with a population that has low resources. And it's not maybe a percent, it's 80% of the population, not 10 or 20%. When we shut down in March, the district that I work for, we've always fed our students during breaks, during summer breaks, during winter. Anytime we're not in the building, our students eat. So my biggest concern wasn't necessarily like technology and how are they going to learn. I was very much more focused on like the social component that my scholars were missing and they were unable to get anymore. Within that year time span, my students lost peers. It's just been a very traumatic time. Throw academics out the window. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the basic needs of our students were not being met. And I felt that like we needed to focus on that social emotional learning piece before we could even begin with academics. So it's been very traumatic, to say the least. Very traumatic. Academics is not my top priority. It is a priority, but it's not the top priority. My top priority right now is the mental health of my students.
I appreciate you sharing. And I do want to unpack that a little later, the piece about balancing academics versus social and emotional, because I think I might fall a little bit on the other side, but I definitely want us to unpack that, because I think if I'm just being in a safe space, I can see why principals like myself, right, can create a lot of stress for teachers during this time, because it is like kids still got to learn. But to your point, right, like there's so many other things going on. So we're going to definitely unpack that a little later. But Steve, I wanted you to share for you, what's it been like this past year in this pandemic for you?
For me, I guess my role is a little bit different from other two guests. I'm more of a culture specialist. I deal with everything culture. I guess when I was in school, I would be considered a dean. So I more so had to deal with just dealing with families and seeing up close in person the trauma, the things that they deal with. Think like Shauna, the population that we serve, our school is very unique, and 20% of our population is homeless. So we have a lot of different issues that maybe other schools don't have. And I think my challenge was putting our students back into the home where a lot of them experienced trauma. And so I had to do a lot of check-ins and checkups and make sure that our students were okay. When we went, long periods of time without hearing from our students. So I think that was one of our biggest challenge in just keeping up on our students and making sure that their social emotional well-being was taken care of.
So each of you in different parts of your story talked about the social emotional well-being of your students, right? But tonight is about you all, right? And about teachers in general, right? And educators in general, and about the social and emotional of teachers, because burnout happens, right? When there's a lot of pressure, when there's a lot of expectations put on teachers. When you do that for 27 some odd weeks, right? you get to this point of the year where you have a lot of teacher burnout. So each of just share, what are some common reasons that teachers burn out or get to that burnout phase? And this is an open dialogue. And if you're in the audience, right, I see some folks showing us some love. So I see Elaine, I appreciate you jumping on. We put up there Rachel, she's representing the West Side. Terrence said, hey, Bestie. I'm not sure who his bestie is, but one of you are, hey, Bestie. So he's saying, hey, Bestie.
Hey, Terrence.
Lauren, yep, showed you some love. And we got some Urban Act love as well. So, again, if you're in the audience, share with us, right, what are some reasons for teacher burnout? But I'm open up to the guests and whoever wants to jump in. What's some common reasons that teachers burn out?
Well, I'll hop right in. This past year, it's working in the inner city. We lose students. Like our students, we don't like it. We don't like to talk about it, but it happens, and that's part of like the product of working in inner city schools. This year, I lost what I call my building son. In a matter of 12 hours, 2 of our students were killed. They were murdered. Part of the teacher burnout came from, I'm not yet burnt out, but part of the burnout came from, I am looking at a child that I loved dearly. And we have social support for like emotional support for the teachers for that day, but grades are still due. Lesson plans are still due. Like there is a list of things that are still due. And it didn't matter that it mattered to my building administrators, but my district, like, did it matter that there's a group of teachers that are mourning? We're in grief over a child that I seen grow up 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. I looked at him walk across the graduation stage, and you're worried about my lesson plans. Like, I can't sleep, but you want to see, is my rigor high enough? The students are calling me at 3:00 in the morning because they don't know how to process death. And we're worried about, like, are you logged in and are you engaging the students virtually? But these students, like, I have 2 of the students who are back in the building now, like, they sat beside me at this child's funeral. And we're asking, well, why aren't they logging in? Why aren't they, like, the teacher is mourning. They're sitting with the teacher and they're seeing their teachers grieving. And it's like, you want me to keep moving on with the big business, but we just buried a student. So for me, that's kind of was like the push towards, I'm on the edge of burnout. It's like I'm burying students and I don't have a chance to grieve while you're still asking for day-to-day tasks to be completed, minimum tasks that are not important to me right now. So that's kind of, for me, was like, that was my, like, park the brakes. Let's do a reality check real quick.
Gotcha.
I'll go ahead and just kind of piggyback off of Shauna. I worked with Shauna at Washington, so I know exactly those two students. I actually co-taught one of the young men, and she's right. Sometimes you're not taught in a teacher preparation program to deal with the loss of a student. Like, that is not something that is in the curriculum. And so even when I worked at Northwest and I've been working in the school system for about 10 years now, and I've lost quite a bit of students, and I'm sure Shauna, maybe Stephen, you can probably attest to this. It doesn't get easier. And so you worrying about my rigor, my lesson plan, like, give me a minute to just process it. But on top of that, just lack from the administration with that social emotional, because we deal with other issues outside of school too. And that mental and emotional fatigue is real. And then being in this pandemic, and I think that's probably another question, we'll probably get to that hopefully, it's like compounded and made it harder, because I still have to put on that brave face every single day and be there for my kiddos. But in a previous episode, and I don't want to misquote, I'm not sure if Dr. Hemphill said this, but just taking that minute just to check in, hey, how are you feeling? How are you doing? I think that can set the tone for the rest of the day and the year. If you just take that extra, minute, 30 seconds, hey, what's up? What can I help you with? If you don't feel comfortable talking to me, who in the building do you trust to go talk to? We need to get you in a good frame, state of mind, because you're not going to listen to anything I have to say if you still dealing with whatever happened before you even walked in the door.
Great.
I think to piggyback off your last one, Ashley, I think that's very important. That has been a part of administration that we stress to administrators that we check on our teachers personally. That's been one of the complaints in our building, that everything is so much about business, that we don't check on our teachers and see how they're doing, especially during this pandemic, people losing people left and right. But I think one of the things that really contribute to teacher burnout is what I call the perfect storm. Like you said, we've been in school for 27 weeks. Teachers are worn out. The students looking at it like, spring break is right around the corner. I'm not thinking about nothing what you're talking about. And they're turning up. So it's like you got the students turning up and the teachers are worn out. And it's like just a perfect storm. And it's not a good situation as far as just the whole culture of the building. But one thing I will say, what helps that our principal really push is self-care. And I think that's one thing that when I was teaching, there wasn't no self-care. It was grind, get it, grind. We got to get these tests in. We got to get things done. But I think that's really important in helping our teachers through this burnout or through this time of the year, is really preaching self-care. So.
Yeah, listen.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm glad you brought this up, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but we have a relaxation room at Lincoln Middle School. So there's like massage chairs, there are essential oils, like there's like a diffuser playing, there's soft music, stress balls, like tea, like there's like a little Keurig, but they offer that to the teachers. Hey, during your lunch, during your prep, go in there and just kind of decompress, disconnect, and just kind of rejuvenate to get through the day. So I do appreciate the administration over in my building for doing that, because I use that all the time.
Yeah. Each of you talked about and the gun violence, and I know I'm put this up to Auntie Elaine said, like in Philly, right? A lot of cities are dealing with it. They're dealing with it in Philly. Kids are getting murdered left and right. Ain't nobody finding no justice. Mysteriously, you can't find people no more. Nothing against the police. I'm just stating facts. Black kids getting murdered in the street. Ain't nobody getting arrested. But, and then you got teachers and kids burying classmates and students, all while we're still in a pandemic, right? And so their home life is struggling, right? And so we talked about that. Then you talked about, right, the pressures and expectations that principals are putting on teachers, right? And I can be, it's a safe space. I've been guilty of that, right? When you are up against a bottom line of ensuring that, your school is up, proficiency rates and attendance rates are up and all this other jazz, that in the midst of all that, you do forget about, right, the teachers. And this is everyone knows this, right? They know I am student, parent, and teacher focused, right? In that order. And I am unapologetic about that. But I also understand the circles of influence, meaning here I am as the principal, right? This is me, the big circle. And then these are the teachers, right? The next circle. And then these are the kids. Well, if I say I'm pro-student, right? Who's the closest to the students in that circle? It's the teachers, right? So I have to reach over the teachers to get to the kids. So why not I just touch the teachers first, put them in a good space so they can be in a good space for kids? Because the last thing I want to do is trigger a teacher to go into a room to trigger a kid. Because oftentimes when teachers get triggered, I can say it's because somebody triggered them first. So you want to know why teachers are popping up on kids? It's because somebody just popped off on them. And so I do understand that. And so I understand that role as a principal, right? That I have to make sure that I put my teachers in the best situation where they can be there for kids, right? And I'm unapologetic about kids and parents, but I can't be blind to the fact that I got to make sure my teachers are in the right headspace, because I'm not putting somebody insane in front of my kids, right? And so it's my job to make sure that they're in a good space. So I agree with you on the triggers from teachers or from principals on teachers, because it's real, right? It's definitely real. So we got some folks in the comments. So I want to get these points up real quick. Are those leaders preaching self-care and taking stuff off of teachers' plates? If they are not, self-care may not happen. Listen, it's true, but it's hard too, right? to take things off the plate, but it's real. So Ray said they get paid to do their job or no. Listen, I said that, but you say that on Twitter, and cancel culture is real. And the Twitter teachers will come at you. But right, like this is what we walked into. It's the same thing with doctors, lawyers, right? Like this is the profession we chose. We didn't choose a job to sit behind a desk at a call center, right? We chose to educate kids. So there's got to be that give takes. And I just don't think we should give teachers pass. But I did want to put that up there. Life goes on, and as if the survivors don't need to process through this trauma, students, teachers, and families, absolutely. Where else are we at? We got, what did he say? He said, teachers should be the principals of their classroom. That's real. That's real. But I also feel like principals got to create that space for teachers to be that principal in their classroom. But, and we talk about discipline, the moment you send a kid out your room, along with that kid went the power. So don't get mad at me for what I did when you sent them to me. So that's part of that too, right? But I want to make sure we stay on topic. So we kind of touched on it, but what else are school leaders doing that can contribute to teacher burnout, right? And I want to put this disclaimer out there. The Recess Podcast is not responsible for any consequences that come from your school administrators for what you say on the show. We're not liable. I just want to name that first. But please, just what are some other things that school leaders are doing to push teachers to that, as you said, Shauna, that edge of burnout?
I don't think my leader is pushing towards. So I think when leaders see really great teachers. So when leaders see the teacher who will do tutoring after school for free, when the leaders see the teachers who will, we're waiting, there's a group of kids who need to be picked up, I'll stay with them. So when leaders see the teachers who are their leaders as well, I think that it becomes very kind of second nature for them to say, hey, can you do? And I think that it's upon the teacher to put that balance out to her administrator team. So for me, like I was always the teacher who pre-pandemic, I would be in the building from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, because this isn't an elementary or middle school. This is a high school. Like we have games, we have performances, like there's things going on in our building. So I would be in the building from like 7 in the morning to 11 at night. But for me, it was learning how to balance work life and personal life. And so like my principal is very understanding that like at 3:30, I'm out the door. That doesn't mean I'm not working at home, but I am out the door. So for me, I think what leaders can do so my leader doesn't put any burnout on my plate, but he had to learn how to kind of become accustomed to me kind of pushing back. Like I can't work till 8 o'clock for you today. So just being like understanding that like my teachers are stepping away to take care of themselves as well. So I don't get anything put on me, but I'm pushing stuff back away from me. And I think for my leader, that's kind of like, oh, that's not you. You're here till 11 o'clock every day. Not this year. Yeah.
11 o'clock's kind of late. I'm kicking folks out the building. You there till 11. You got to go home at some point. 11.
Well, we have a game. So if there's like a game night and the game doesn't get over, the game doesn't end till 10, and then we're waiting for parents to come pick up their children. Like we can't just leave these babies here. I have to make sure, like I need to see an adult pick these children up. So I'm going to stay here until every child has left this building. Because yes, this is what we signed up for, but this is a calling. This is a heart of work. It's not hard work, it's heart work. So while we signed up for it, this is our passion. Some of us, this is our purpose. This is part of my purpose. So I'm not going to leave any of my students on a parking lot at 11:30 at night. For me, it's just like.
No, shout out to you and shout out to your school for allowing kids to go to games without parents. I'm sorry, you're not going to a game without an adult. Because here's the thing. Parents forget, drop your kid off, game over at 10, and you talking about, oh, I'm on my way. Whoa. You should have been in the parking lot. So shout out to you and your school for letting kids be at games unsupervised. That ain't my ministry. But, shout out to you. Stephen, Ashley, what are some other things that leaders are doing, right, to kind of push you, or you seen push teachers to that edge of burnout?
I'm not gonna say this is happening in our building, but I've said this has happened to me before, though, when I was in the classroom, and that's just really low support and high accountability. Always expecting a whole lot out of your teachers, and really not giving them much support. To me, that wears on the teacher, and eventually, most teachers end up leaving the profession because of stuff like that. But I'll just speak briefly and just say, to me, low support and high accountability. I see that often.
Yeah. You listen, I'm gonna put this up there because my aunt said it. Nobody wants to talk about that word, right? That's a word right there, accountability. As he put it, that's a dirty word, right? Accountability, because the question is, and here's another good question I'm gonna put up there too, but I'm gonna ask this. Do teachers really want to be held accountable? Because it's a safe space. So I'm gonna ask the question. Do teachers really want to be held accountable? Or do they want to make excuses? And to Ray's point, right, is burnout self-induced, right? So I don't want you to hold me accountable, or I'm afraid of accountability. That's the question I'm posing to you all and to those listening, right? Do teachers really want to be held accountable for the outcomes of their students? I see you shaking your head, Shauna. You saying no?
Teachers want to complain. Teachers want to, from my experience, teachers want to do as less work as possible to achieve great outcomes. But in order to get great outcomes, you got to put in that work. So are teachers accountable? No, because if I come in and observe your classroom and I say, hey, let's work on the rigor in your classroom. And if the first, because that was my observation, right? Let's work on the rigor. Rigor. Do we even know what it really means? But hey, let's work on the rigor. So that's my transparency. So I'm getting observed by district leaders, superintendents, and it's like, we need to work on the rigor of your classroom. The most negative observation I've had in 7 years. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on in my room? The very first thing I could have done was say, well, it's because the students don't do this and the kids don't do this and the parents don't do this. But the very first thing I did is I pulled out my lesson plans and I went through my own lesson plans, like, where have you dropped your rigor? So for me, it was the self-accountability, holding myself accountable. But teachers want to hold, and I love my educators, but I'm team students at the end of the day. So teachers want to hold somebody else accountable for what's not happening in their classrooms, when you got to hold, like, what are you not doing in the room first that trickled into someone coming in and saying, where's the rigor in your room? And if you have to go as a senior teacher, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Then humble yourself, sis, and go ask another teacher to teach you how to do it. But it doesn't happen. And I believe that's how teachers burn out. I believe teachers burn out because they don't turn to other teachers and say, can you show me? Can you teach me? Like, they try to do everything on their own. You're taking 12 hours to lesson plan when you and 4 other people could sit down and lesson plan together and get it all knocked out in 2 hours. So for me, teacher burnout happens because you're not connecting with your colleagues. You're looking for your leaders to do everything for you when you need to lead yourself. I'm sorry, I'm gonna mute my mic.
No, wait a minute, because you just dropped the word. Like,
this is why I asked her to be on this show, David.
I see, but I listen to the Twitter teachers. They get angry. This is a message that I do fully support everything that she said, but you're not gonna cancel me for it because I didn't say it. I'm just in support of it. I just want to state that because they out there. But you're absolutely right, right? You're absolutely right. So, Stephen, Ashley, any thoughts on what Shauna said? Or anything you want to add to that? But I mean, she said a word there, right? About teachers, yeah.
Well, as I'm a SPED teacher, so the accountability is real on my end because I want to make sure that I am following that IEP that is written, because that is a living document. I don't want to be in litigation because, a parent who knows the SPED law say, Ms. Ford, you're not following my son's IEP as it's written. So I always prime example, we're doing standards-based grading right now. And so trying to get the mastery. So I always, when I do like a formative assessment and I see that the majority of the kids did not meet whatever that goal is, I have to go and look at, maybe I did something wrong. So I'm going to have to go back and reteach it, come up with a different strategy to make sure that the majority, if not all, have reached that standard or met that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then also know that my kids are at different levels. Like today, what we were doing, I use visuals. I like to pull me and Shauna had this conversation last night. I try to make those real world connections. I use shoes, I use hair, I use the COVID shot because we're working on distributed property. So here's this, and now we're distributing it to these people first. It was the first responders, essential workers. Now it was people over like was it SEP 55 or something. Now it's down to teachers. They're distributing the COVID vaccines. So trying to make those real world connections. But I always have to make sure, if all of them are failing, I did something wrong. So yeah, accountability is real. And anytime I have an observation, we sit down, we talk, and my observer asked me, do you have any questions? Yes. For this, this part of the observation, how can I go from effective to highly effective? Because that is my goal. They know I want to go into admin, but I can't be a great leader if I'm not good in the classroom. So,
preach that. Stephen, what you got?
I think that was a very, very, very good point. Very good point. And I believe, any profession, though, you have a real issue if you have an employee or a coworker who don't want to be held accountable. That's a real issue. But then again, I share my past experience when I was in the classroom. There was high accountability, but there was no support. And so I think when you have both, I think it's easier for teachers to swallow being held accountable when you show that you there to support them as well.
Yeah, listen, that piece about high accountability, low support, no support, kind of support, right? No industry operates like that, right? Google, Apple, NFL, NBA, there's high accountability, but you best believe I'm gonna give you all the resources necessary for you to be successful. So as a leader, it's my job to give you all the tools that you need, right, in order to be successful. And if I give you those tools and you don't use them, then I can bust you. But if I don't, right, this is where a true leader reflects and says, this teacher is ineffective. Let me think about why this teacher is ineffective. Here's where I dropped the ball. I gotta own that. Real leaders own that 100%, right? And I'm gonna put this up here, because Lauren said it. Reflection is key. Being open to feedback is super important. Excellent teachers humble themselves on behalf of their students and get it right the next time. I've never been anti-teacher, but I'm 100% anti-bad teachers. I'm sorry. I am. If you're a bad teacher, I can't do nothing with you. And I'm talking about bad from your heart and from your skill set. And because I said this on Twitter, right? As a leader, as an instructional coach, and I see my boy, gotta put my boy in the building, Doc Smith, right? He talked about it all the time. My job is an instructional leader. My job is to coach my teachers. I can coach you on pacing. I can coach you on aggressive monitoring, guided discourse, show call, standards. I can coach you on all that stuff. But what I can't coach you on is how to love kids and work hard. You either got that or you don't. I can't do nothing about that. I can do something about the other stuff. I can't do nothing if you don't love kids, right? If you don't love kids and you don't work hard, I ain't got nothing for you. And if you burn out because you don't love kids and you don't ask for help, then so be it. And I hope you burn right on out the profession. And I mean that 100%. I'm just saying. Listen, it's a safe space. Y'all my people, right? We people now. So, and people watching, this is a safe space. So you got to go. And I'm cool with you burning out. I might help you burn out to get you out faster. That's just real, right? And I know teaching's hard, but you know what else is hard? An uneducated kid growing into an adult in a world that doesn't care about him. That's what's hard. Try being black and can't read because your teacher didn't teach you. That's hard. So I don't want to hear nothing about how hard you got it with your job that pays you every 2 weeks, when you're mediocre, when you can pay your bills, right? That ain't hard. Because when the day's over, you go to your little home, right? And got your food in your refrigerator. But this kid who you didn't educate for 7 to 8 hours, they got to go home to a house, unable to read and have no hope for the future. So that's my disclaimer. So anyway, moving on to the topic. Let me ask y'all this. A lot of people will blame students, right? And they blame families, right? For teacher burnouts, right? The parents don't answer the phone. The kids don't do their work and all that other stuff, right? Even when teachers are feeling burnt out, right? What are some ways that they can not take that aggression out on parents and students, right? So like even in that phase, because you all seem like dedicated educators who naturally get burnt out because you're human. So how do you make sure that you stay within the right space for your families and your students? And Steve, I'm gonna start with you, man, just because you talked about your work, right? Doing those home visits, right? And all those things. And I know that can be stressing and tiring, but how do you make sure that you stay in the right space for your families?
Honestly, for me, I keep using the word self-care. But Ashley know a little bit about me. Like I love to play ball. And for me, I really find something that I love to do in my spare time. And that's part of my self-care is playing ball. But that's major for me in making sure that when I get off work, when I'm done doing my work, I'm done with work. I know some people that will work, like Shauna said, will work till 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. It wears you out. But I know one of the things is just compartmentalizing my life, putting things into proper perspective, for me, help, decrease that burnout. And I heard Mr. Raymond say that burnout is self-induced. And I believe a lot of times, especially young teachers, they trying to party all night, be here, be there. You can't do that. Not and be an effective teacher.
Nah. Tell them, Ash, we can't do that no more in our 30s, right? When I was 22, boy, I was up in Tremors Thursday night and went to teach the next morning. Hey, Indianapolis folks, West Side people, y'all know about Tremors. Anyway, but we can't do that no more. Stevie, you're right. You got to know, right? What Cat Williams say? You got to be in tune with your own star player, and you got to know this is my limit, and I gotta break it off, right? And I gotta get some rest. I gotta close my computer, right? I gotta do something that is refilling to me. Otherwise, I'm gonna bring that negative energy, and that's absolutely right. Having that outlet is key. But I think Ray said it first, right? Let me just be honest with myself. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. So let me name that. Let me put it out there. So then I can just be honest, and then I can do something about it, right? Absolutely. So Shauna, Ashley, what do you guys say? Like what do teachers need to do, right, to make sure you don't take that negative burnout energy and it comes off on parents and it comes off on students?
Like Steve said, like this is overshare, but I know I suffer from some mental health. And so when I feel like I'm getting into that dark space, I had to find me an outlet. And here the last year, and Shauna can attest to this, I've been working out. I have a great trainer, and that has been an outlet for me. So even if I have a rough day, that doesn't stop me from going into the next day and still trying. Yeah, we're going to have those parents who just don't want to talk, don't want to, have the open line of communication. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop reaching out and saying, hey, this kid, logged into Zoom, didn't do anything, but you know what? He did log in later and, attempted one problem. That's a win. All wins don't end in a victory. I use that same approach as a coach, but if I can get them to do something, then hey, I did my job. But just taking that time and, like he said, knowing, hey, I'm feeling burnt out. I need to, take a step back and figure out, okay, what is causing this burnout? What are my triggers? But I will push back because I do think there is some truth to students and parents causing teacher burnout.
Here we go. Okay, now we about to get real. Come on, let's talk about that.
Because I keep having the same issue with your kid. You're not calling. Listen, at the beginning of the year, I tell parents, do you prefer email, text, or phone call? Because I'll do all three. And in my line of work, I have to communicate. I have to document those attempts at making that communication. But I can't serve you and your student if you don't respond. And that is frustrating because I'm like, okay, why is this person not responding to me? Like, I take it personally because I should not want more for your kid than you do, if that makes sense. And so I'm going to say there is some truth to that the burnout does come from lack of support from the students and the family. Yes, I understand the trauma that goes on now that the kids have been home for a year. I mean, they're starting to come back. The abuse has gone up. The neglect has gone up. I get it. I really do. But we still have to try because like you said, I don't want those kids to be 18, 19, 20 years old here, don't know how to read a job application. Now it's on the computer. They can't, go they can't even go work at Walmart without a high school diploma.
Hey, look.
So we need to give them a minimum wage job, not here out in the streets. Because the shooting with the 4 people, one of those was a former student. That's number 13 for me. That I lost the students that I know. That's hard. So I encourage parents, please. I know they get tired, especially if your kid has a behavior problem. We need to get to the root of the problem. So you don't have to worry about getting those negative phone calls. Because I always try to follow up with something positive. Hey, he didn't log in yesterday, but today he was there. He answered one question. That's a win, Mom. I need him to have that same energy tomorrow. And if not, we'll keep trying.
How about can I just have some working telephone numbers?
Oh man.
Like I shouldn't look in the computer system and I should look on that platform and there's 15 numbers and none of them work. Like that leads to that is a trigger for teacher burnout, because if you have a good teacher who is really invested in the students, then who do I contact? Like where I had a student have a full seizure in my room and there was no one for us to contact. None of the numbers work. Like, Mom, when I call you and say, hey, little Bobby is, he hasn't turned in any work. Well, girl, I don't know what you're supposed to do with him because he don't work for me either. Well, Mom, it's a village, Mom. I'm going to help you. What do you need from the school? Right, what resources do you need? Is there something let me put you in contact, because I stay in my lane. I'm not the teacher that didn't drive in everybody. No, I drive right in my lane. Oh, you need to talk to a social worker. I'll get you there. You need to I'll get you over there. But what do you need from us? How can the village come in and help support you? But the families need accountability too. My students are not 11. My students are 17. So if they can get up and if they can go to work and if they can cash checks and if they can do everything that they want to do, you can also get up and you can come to school. You can get up and you can log in. And here's the thing, I'm the flexible teacher. I understand that some of you guys picked up jobs during the pandemic, and for teenager hours, school hours is like 1:00 in the morning, right? So I don't care if you submit your work at 1:00 in the morning. I could care less when you submit it. Here's the thing, and I don't even give you a lot of work at this point. But there is a level of accountability that the teacher should have, the students should have, and the families should have. Because at the end of the day, I don't have any children. I'm 40, no children, don't want any. Yeah, don't want any. I have a 20-year-old sister. So I have a sister we're a 20-year age gap. I have a child in my own right. If she didn't graduate, it wasn't going to be on her teachers to figure out how she was going to eat and where she was going to live and who's going to take care of her. It was going to be on her family. So at some point, the families have to take accountability for what they have been blessed to produce. And I think as a community, honestly, as a Black community, we have to start holding our families and our children a little bit more accountable. I can't remember the older Black lady, but it was on kind of Black Summit maybe 20 years ago. And she said the teachers are afraid of the principals. The principals are afraid of the superintendents. The superintendents is afraid of the board. The board are afraid of the parents. The parents are afraid of the students, and the students ain't afraid of nobody. And when I look at the state of education, that's what it looks like. Like the kids are running it. And they shouldn't be. We should be running it together. Like we don't run over the children. Like, so I'm over the student government, and the kids are actually getting ready to do a podcast about teen dating and violence. They pick their own. I just moderate. I just sit here and let the kids talk and do so we can build together. But at some point, we do have to hold our families accountable. It cannot be 100% on the teachers. And if you're an African American teacher in the schools, you're one of few. So then it feels like all of the Black kids come to you sometimes. And like, that's a burnout just within itself, just being like the cool building. Everybody wants to come and talk to you about the students. So like, where are we holding these individuals account? We have to hold our community accountable for what we see coming out.
Yeah. And listen, y'all talked about numbers not working, and I've experienced that too. But like Ray said, I'm calling you, I'm texting you, I'm emailing, and I'm straight up pulling up, flat out. I'm pulling up, knocking on your door, ringing your doorbell, and I might get froggy enough and go around the back, straight up. Because here's the thing, we take an iRead. So those are the iRead test for third graders. It's an important test. I'm not gonna get in this testing conversation with people. We need tests, we need accountability. But anyway, it's an important test. We got to get 95%. There's a student that's keeping us from getting 100%. Talked to mom yesterday, told her when to come, called her today, emailed her today. I told our dean, I said, pull up. Here's the address. We pulling up, flat out. And Ray said, if you afraid to go in the neighborhood, right, where your school is, then that probably ain't the school for you. Don't shoot the messenger, right? I'm just repeating what was said, right? And that's real. And yes, we in that town in April for sure. Come to the city. But yeah, like we have got to, and I'm with you, right? We got to hold parents accountable. But I'm also going to say the school needs to exhaust every resource possible. So I'm not asking Shauna, you Ashley, to go on a home visit. But them administrators in y'all school, who I know make $100,000+, better get in that car and drive to that house. You and your suit and your leather briefcase need to go to that house. The problem is you got these administrators who are afraid to do those things, right? Or you hire these social workers, and see, you know, you hire these social workers people, and you're not employing them to do their job. That's their job. The part of the job description is you might have to do some home visits. We might have to do some community family circles in the living room, right? That's part of the job. That's the school's obligation, especially when you teach African-American students in a predominantly low-income community, right? This ain't Carmel if you're in Indianapolis, right? This ain't the suburbs. This ain't. You got to go meet the people where they are, and sometimes where they are is in the neighborhood because they ain't got a car, they ain't got no money to get a car, and they got no money to buy the bus because the transportation system in Indianapolis is god awful. So I can't get my child to school. So how about somebody come get my child, or at least offer that to my child? So I'm with you on that too, but we got to do everything in our power too. Now, if we do that, and the parent ain't doing their part, that's a different conversation. Then the parent, then me and you, we got to have a family meeting. And if you really have relationships with your parents and your families, as you know this, you can definitely bring that parent in and say, let me tell you something. You slacking, right? And this is me coming to you because I care about you, right? I'm not CPS. I'm not anybody else, but I'm telling you, get your stuff together because you're going to have some people in your business that you don't want in your business. I tell my families that all the time. You better, I'm trying to help you. I'm going to be in your business. But if them other folks get in your business, it's going to be a different conversation. So
I want to say something.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, but what frustrates me is when it comes to like this discipline, they'll come to the school. They'll find a way to get up there if their child is being put up for expulsion or, you know, hey, come get your kid because they're up here causing a mess up here, breaking stuff and beating up teachers, beating up kids. Oh, now you want to come up here. We didn't try to call you 10 other times or 20 other times to prevent from happening. So that kind of triggers me too. Like, so look, I'm gonna ask y'all this question. This is gonna be like our final question. So I want to give another perspective to possible teacher burnout, and I want y'all honest opinion. Folks in the audience, I want your opinion too. Do you feel if teachers made more money that they wouldn't be burnt out? So hypothetically, I think the starting salary in Indiana for teachers is like $42,000. I think for first year teachers fresh out of college. If the starting salary for first year teachers was $60,000, do you think teachers would handle certain situations differently and be less burnt out?
Why or why not? Right? I'm asking that question. Does money have anything to do with the burnout? I got my thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts. What y'all think?
I think it's just the nature of the job. I don't care if you paid a teacher $200,000 a year. They still gonna be burned out. Now they might handle it a little differently because there's more on the line. It works out. It is. I do believe that's just this is a part of the nature of the job. You know, when dealing with parents and dealing with students and having the pressures of deadlines and having to meet certain test scores, like that's just the nature of the job. So that's my perspective.
I like it. Ashley, Shauna, what you think?
I agree. I don't think what good is it to have a livable salary if you aren't taking care of yourself? Because you're gonna end up with health issues. Black women, we're one of the highest with heart problems and high blood pressure. I can't be stressed out. No amount of money is going to help me help my personal well-being. So I got to take care of me, because if it gets to the point, I go find a salary someplace else. You see what I'm saying? So, and then also, I didn't come in to teaching thinking I'm gonna make a lot of money. I knew that coming in. I do it for the outcome, not the income.
Say that one more time, because there's some teachers that don't understand that. Say that one more time, that last part.
I didn't go into education trying to make a lot of money. I knew that I was not going to make a lot of money. I do it for the outcome, not the income. I know that's probably sounds really corny, but it's true. I know that, hey, I'm only going to be making this amount of money, but if I can just reach one, if I can get one to see their full potential, then I don't care about no $100,000 salary, because hopefully I'm going to find me a husband who makes the good money. But
hey, this ain't no dating show. I'm here trying to get you.
So no, it's no. So no.
Now I need my coins. No.
There she go.
No, sis.
But no,
come on,
Shauna Teacher of the Year though.
No.
Shauna Teacher of the Year. She can tell y'all that. The year.
No,
come on, Shauna, tell me.
Let's be 100 in here, right? Should every teacher make 70K? No.
Hell no.
No, you shouldn't. But listen, I build relationships. I engage. I spend hours developing my content and my lesson plan, regardless of what they say. No, it is rigorous. My students critically think. I introduce you to African-American literature that you may never read again.
Come on.
Right? I work hard on my own time, except for Saturday. I don't work at all on Saturday. Laptop stays closed the whole day. But I work hard to make sure that when I walk into a school that has 80% low-income children that read below grade level, that when they walk out of my classroom, that I have increased your reading level by 2 to 3 grade levels in 1 year. Yeah, I want my coins, right? Because we don't tell the brain surgeon, just because you love it, we're not going to pay you, right? So yes, part of the pay, I have a master's degree in education. If I really want to take my time and go into this PhD program, I'll put myself in one of the 3% of Black women in the country who have a doctorate degree. And it has nothing to do with degree levels or any of that, but pay me Jesus knew his worth. Pay me my value, pay me what I'm worth. I know my value, I know my purpose. And I had a lady who, she was a principal. She was actually one of the first Black women to sit on Pike Township's board. And she said to me, she said, Shauna, if there wasn't any money in education, white people wouldn't be there.
Damn.
Okay, Shauna.
She said, and when I remember that about 10 years ago. And when she said that to me, I never forgot that. She said, if there was no money to be made in the education field, she said, white people would not be in there working in the education field. She said, go in there and get your coins. No, I want my coins. Now,
I'm not saying we don't need to make a salary, Shauna. I didn't say that. I want my money too.
Right. Sis said, bring me my coins. That's what she said.
Get it. Like, it's hard work, and I love my babies. One of them just texted me now and said, I can't take my test. We'll take it in a minute. Give me a minute. We're gonna take your test, sweetie. Like, I love my babies, but you're gonna pay me my worth.
So let me. I want to throw some. Listen, it's a safe space. So we didn't over this 54 minutes. We didn't build, a nice little relationship. So I want to say this. I wonder if and I'm not even gonna single out teachers. I'm gonna say educators. I don't know if educators even want the liability, and this is what I mean. Actually, you said something earlier when you said IEPs are a legal document, right? And you don't want to be caught up in litigation. What if a kid's education was a legal document? And that if you miseducate a kid, that I could either sue you or arrest you for education malpractice, right? So I think let's think about that. Like if you miseducate a child, somebody could sue you for malpractice. Because I think that's malpractice. It's criminal. If you teach a kid 3-4 years and ain't learned a lick of nothing, if a kid goes through a school system for 12 plus years and can't read, that's criminal. Somebody should get sued, civil, legal, I don't care, right? I think if there was some malpractice insurance tacked on to a kid's education, right? Shoot, teachers would make a lot of money, right? But I don't know, but that goes to the accountability. I don't think people really want them problems, right? Because if I go into the doctor's office and he goes 3 inches the wrong way to the left and I'm paralyzed, I'm suing the hospital and my wheelchair gonna be pimped out, right? But if I send my baby, Zuri Rain, to a school and her kindergarten teacher don't teach her letter sounds, I can't sue that teacher for malpractice. I should be able to. I should get her per pupil back at the end of the year. Give me my money for my child sitting in that seat that you didn't educate. Like, if they did that, then hell, I say pay teachers whatever you want to pay them because there's that accountability. So I'm going to throw that perspective out there. Again, Twitter teachers, please don't cancel me. I have a daughter. I want to take care of her. I want my job, and y'all be telling on me. So please don't cancel me for my comments, okay? So we almost at the end, but before we close out, I do a segment called Final Thought. So I want to give each of you your opportunity for final thought. Ashley knows how this goes, so talk about whatever you want to talk about. Close up what we kind of talked about, any final points. If you have initiatives or programs or anything that you're doing outside of, your day-to-day work, this is an opportunity to share. Or if you just want to send a special message to, anybody, this is that time. So Stephen, I'm going to start with you, man. Any final thoughts as we close out the show tonight?
Just thanks for having me on the show, man. One final thought that I had that I did want to share when we was talking about just factors that played into burnout during this pandemic, just having to teach. I noticed a lot of teachers talking about this, having to teach when in an environment that you don't control. Like students being at home and you have no control over what's going on at home, and they're not really in an environment that's conducive to learning. And I know that can be really frustrating. And just on a final thought note, I share this all the time with our staff. Really that we just give each other grace especially during a difficult time. I always say the same grace that you would like to receive to do your job, give your coworkers that same amount of grace. So,
man,
peace out. Appreciate you for having me, man.
That's man. Listen, I love that, man. That grace, man, that's powerful. And we say that all the time. Like you said, give each other the same grace you will want, right? And that's how that works. Absolutely, I appreciate you sharing that. Shauna, what's your final thoughts? Got a basketball game that you got to be at tonight?
No, the pandemic done shut us down. No, our schools. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. Thank you to Ashley, my workout partner. We work out and then go out to eat. We're gonna work on that though, Ash. So thank you. I put you out there. I love her. Thank you, Ashley, for inviting me. I guess my final thought is to educators. Educators, remember, there's not a principal, there's not a district leader. We are the first people to ever teach in the middle of a pandemic. We are the first people to ever teach in a global pandemic. They don't know what it's supposed to look like. So let's show them what it looks like. Let's come together as educators. Let's partnership. Let's build, because they're coming in our rooms and they're looking for the models. So let's give them the model. Final thoughts.
I love it. Give them the models. So Ashley, because we friends. So I got to do this real quick. So Ashley, I'm put you on the solo screen, but before you get your final thoughts, my boy Alan Mickens, he made a good point, and I'm gonna go to it because you definitely said that you were single and you out here trying to get yours. And so he said, here we go, right? You miss 100% of the shots you never take. So shoot your shot, Shuz. Shoot your shot. You out here single. What's your final thoughts besides that you trying to meet a husband so you ain't got to work?
Oh my goodness. First of all, my love language is words of affirmation. That's something that I need to hear almost daily. So I appreciate my administration for, entrusting me with their babies and continuing this life's work, because it is what it is. Hey, shoot your shot. Follow me on Twitter. I got you, Dr. Smith.
There we go.
But no, I just want to, thank you, David, for this. I learn something every single time that I watch your podcast. You never want to stop learning. I do want to become a better teacher, better leader. But that self-care, because like Shauna said, this is new to everybody. No one has ever taught in a pandemic. It's been 1918 last time we had a pandemic. So give yourself that self-care, extend that grace. For those those teachers who are parents, how would you want your child being taught? Put your child in your classroom. The way you're teaching, do you think your child is getting the best education? Are you doing your job as a teacher? If your kid was in your room, do you think that they would master those standards and meet whatever goals they have? And just, keep pushing. We're almost there. And yeah, that's all I got. That him shooting his shot kind of threw me off. Sorry.
I had to do it, sis. But like you said, man, push through it, right? That, like the good book says, right? Push, pray until something happens, right? So before we close out, I want to thank each of you for coming on again, allowing us to have this safe space, allowing us to talk about teacher burnout and talk about everything education. Folks know I've been doing this for almost a year. Coming up, April 7th, it will be 1 year. And so I'm looking forward to that show. It's going to be a powerful show. But before we get there, I want to let everybody know next week I'm going to do something different. There won't be a live show, but I'm going to drop a link, episode 35. I'm going to bare my soul, my leadership soul to people. And I had an opportunity to write a racial autobiography. And so shout out to my coach. Shout out to Melanated Leaders and Patrick Jones for hooking me up with a executive coach through Candor Coaching, Keenan Bishop out of Ohio. But I had an opportunity to write my racial autobiography. And it kind of tells my story centered up where I became an educator. And so I'm going to read that as part of the show. I'm going to bear, my soul and who I am as a leader. And so I'm going to drop that link next week, Thursday at 7 p.m., right? The same time the show will start. I'm going to just drop the link. It won't be that long. If you rock with me, I hope you will listen, give me feedback, about it. And so again, it's me. It's open. I have real conversations on here, and you're going to get the real me as I approach coming up on a year. And so I hope you will check that out next week. Again, 7 p.m. But as I always say, right, Auntie Elaine, thank you for having my back for night. I don't want to get canceled, but, sometimes I say some stuff that could get me in trouble. So please make sure that doesn't happen. But as I always say, man, this has been a Recess Podcast. Create the platform, control the conversation, change the culture. Again, tune in next week as I bare my soul with my racial autobiography. Until the next live show, peace out, stay safe, God bless, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.